Hello, everybody. Long time no see, unless, of course, you come to my live chats. Then I've seen you every day. I want to apologize. This is going to be a little echoey. This is not where I'm going to be doing my videos from. This is the actual gunroom portion of our new construction. The studio part is not quite up and running, but it should be today. But I wanted to make a video today very quickly to address something that's going on in the gun world that I want people to pay attention to tomorrow. Apparently, Biden is about to issue, according to insiders, some executive orders on guns. Now, the one thing he's definitely going to talk about is ghost guns, but there's some other things people are speculating that he's going to speak about also. I kind of want to go over those here real quick with everybody and give you an idea what to look for tomorrow if this happens and see what they're saying. Now, believe me, I know people are upset about this and getting all concerned, and a lot of gun channels are trying to say, you better go out and buy your AKs and your ARs now, and blah, blah, blah. But that's the same bullshit we go through every time. Let's actually look at what they're saying, and let's look at how we are best going to be able to fight these if they actually become a thing. Now, like I said, the first thing he wants to talk about, or he's going to talk about, is ghost guns. For those of you who don't know what ghost guns are, it could be confusing because it's a term that's been used throughout history multiple times. It's been used to describe different types of guns that had the serial number scratched off, guns that were made out of materials that could get through metal detectors, etc. So it's an overused term. But the modern definition of a ghost gun is a gun that doesn't come with a serial number, period. It's a kit. You buy a kit. A lot of people call them 80%ers. And then you finish it up and you produce your own firearm, which is totally legal. If you have the means to make a firearm, you can make a firearm. You don't have to serialize it unless you're going to sell it. That's the only time it becomes necessary to put a serial number on firearms, when you're going to sell them or mass produce them. So ghost guns is something that's totally legal. But Biden wants to issue an executive order saying everyone has to go through a background check to get one, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of you being able to build firearms at home without serial numbers. They're basically taking away that right. But they're using the idea that in this case, it isn't people building their own guns. It's companies building the guns for them and then avoiding background checks by saying, oh, well, you still got to drill a couple of holes before it's actually a gun. But then they give you the jigs and the means to do it. So that's one of the things he's probably going to talk about tomorrow is making ghost guns require background check. Now, I have never bought a ghost gun, probably never will buy a ghost gun because I don't want manufacturers giving me fucking chores. If I buy a gun from someone, I want it to be able to pull it out of the box and shoot it. I don't want to have to go home and finish it. I don't even fucking like, what do you call this thing? I was going to say Lincoln Logs, but that kind of tells people how old I am. Legos. I don't want to fucking build it. Yeah, the thing on the box looks great, but that takes work to get there. I don't want to do that. So I don't want to do that with guns either. ARs are bad enough, but at least then you just put all the parts together and it works. You don't have to actually drill things and stuff. But that's one of the things we're going to talk about, making background checks on ghost guns. And now a lot of people blame the industry for the reason that they're coming after ghost guns. They're like, oh, if these people hadn't made a big deal out of it, they hadn't started including the drill bits and the jigs and blah, 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 they never would have gone after these. Well, I understand your point, but the law is stupid, period. So blaming the people who actually made it easier for people to do something instead of blaming the stupid law is kind of ridiculous. I don't see the point. So let's just focus on the fact that it's the government trying to infringe on your rights to build your own firearm and not try to look for a scapegoat to blame other than the government. I mean, those are all things that are debatable, but let's deal with it's the government overreaching as far as I'm concerned. And yes, I am a firm believer that some people pick fights with the ATF just to make themselves popular, to make themselves money, and to promote sales, etc. And it damages our rights when they do that. But in this case, let's just focus on the fact that it's overreach by the government. I think we'll be a lot better off if we do that. Now, what will happen if we have to start having background checks on ghost guns? I guess not much. Here's the thing, though. Ghost guns, I think there's been one used in a major crime that I know of. It's not like it's an epidemic and they're all over the place. But it's like most guns. If you look at like every 1,000 guns sold, how many of them get used in a crime? Almost none. It's more the people than it is the product in these issues. So I'm not really concerned about ghost guns, and like I said, because I've never bought one, never will. But I am totally opposed to background checks for them because everyone has a right, and that's I want to tell people out there also. Yes, you may not care about ghost guns. They may be something you like me have never bought, never will buy. But remember, when you only start fighting for things that you care about, that's when you become a FUD. You have to stand on principle. And this is one of those cases where you have to stand on principle. So you should be totally against background checks on ghost guns. That's one of the things he's going to talk about. Now, will it be a big deal? Probably not. Because I don't think most people buy them. And going through a background check would hopefully not stop very many people from getting them. Because I don't think there's a lot of bad guys out there getting 80%ers. If there is, well, I'm still a firm believer that if you're a free citizen, even if you are a convicted felon, as long as you've been released, you've done your time, you should be able to build a gun if you want to. So I just don't support background checks on them. I think it's kind of a way, I kind of look at it, this might seem like a criminal mindset, but I'm like, ghost guns were a way that people that were forbidden by the government, excuse me, forbidden by the government to exercise their right to defend themselves, it was a way for them to get around it and be able to defend themselves. A right I think they should have. And a right I believe they do have, except for that the government is intervening. So I'm totally against background checks on ghost guns, and I hope you are too. So pay attention to what he says tomorrow about that. And if he does pass to where they have to do background checks on him, it will face legal scrutiny. So keep your eyes open for lawsuits on that and be ready to maybe, write a check, give $5, whatever, to whoever's fighting the fight. Don't just willy-nilly send money to big national gun groups because that's just your waste. For every $5 you send, $1 of it might trickle down to the fight after everything happens. You got to send out those mailers and throw conferences and everything else. But that's one thing to look out for. Another one is he's talking about he's wanting to end the immunity for gun manufacturers, which is stupid. Gun manufacturers do not have immunity from damages if they put out a faulty product or they market something incorrectly or in a shady way. They just can't be charged every time someone uses their product in a bad way if they had no saying in it. Like he said, these companies need to be held accountable because they're flooding our streets with weapons of war. I haven't seen any gun manufacturers I know of selling fully automatic weapons in the United States or anti-tank missiles or anything. So I don't know what he considers a weapon of war because I've never seen an AR used in the military. I was in for years, I didn't see it. I didn't see a lot of people use it. I mean, I guess 1911s, people carry them as a sidearm, but it wasn't a weapon of war. That's your last resort. It wasn't a weapon of war. And finally, I think it's kind of hypocritical that the United States says, these manufacturers are flooding the streets with weapons of war, costing lives, while we as a country put more weapons of actual war in the hands of people that kill innocent civilians every day in foreign countries, and we act like that's necessary. Nothing wrong with that. So it's a bunch of hypocritical bullshit. But he can't do that. That's actually a law. So he's going to have Congress to change that. So don't worry about that. That's not going to happen. Another thing they're talking about is they want to make it to where people who are convicted of domestic violence can't buy firearms. Now, I might be mistaken here because I'm not up on the laws in every state, but I thought that was true in a lot of states already. I think one of the things that they meant when they said that is that they want, because they said spouses instead of husbands and wives. So I think that maybe they want to update it to where, sometimes the laws are a little archaic because it's, husband and wife. And if it's wife and husband, sometimes it doesn't legally apply. So maybe they're just wanting to expand the definition. But here's the thing. I'm against people who've been convicted of domestic violence being forbidden from buying a firearm, period. If they're out and free in society, that's the way it is. And domestic violence charges are so overused. And especially pay attention if it's convicted of domestic violence or has a charge of domestic violence. Because sometimes they try to say, well, if you've been charged with it, you can't buy a gun. That's crap. And even with the convicted, it's still crap. Because it's one of the most overused charges around. Now that cops have to take somebody in every time they get a domestic call, which is a ridiculous law also. There's just so many people out there that have been convicted of domestic violence that did nothing wrong other than date the wrong person. It's crazy or something. So, and I'm not belittling domestic violence. It's a thing, but it's completely overused. It's kind of like sexual harassment. to where sexual harassment is a thing and we should all be aware of it. But just glancing at someone and them not liking the fact that you looked at them is not sexual harassment. It's greatly overused. Just like some guy grabbing his girlfriend's wrists and keeping her from scratching his eyes out, and then the police get there and her wrists are red where he's grabbed her. Well, it's not physical violence against someone. So I oppose that completely. You might have a different feeling. There's some people who that's their big red flag word, domestic violence or words. But pay attention to that. That's one thing he's going to do. I don't know what he could really do with that. That would require congressional act. I don't think EOs are going to be able to do that, and except unless he's expanding on laws that already exist about domestic violence, and he's just saying, hey, these laws that used to apply between a man and a woman, husband and wife, also apply between wife and husband now that we have gay marriage, etc. So he might be expanding on something that already exists with new modern terminology, but as far as just making a new law that says people who have been charged or convicted of domestic violence can't buy guns, that would require Congress. Anything he did executive order that way would be challenged immediately and probably fall in the courts. Once again, pay attention to where the fight may be occurring. The last thing that they said that he might be talking about, they went through a list of things. It's people just speculating. Like they're like, oh, he's going to do an assault weapons ban by EO. You can't do that. Not going to happen. If that could have happened, Clinton would have done it, but couldn't do it. Obama would have done it if he could have done it. Can't do it. So that is not even worth worrying about. Magazine limits, also not going to happen through executive order. Even if they try it, it'll fall almost immediately. It would be immediately blocked. And then that would have to go to the Supreme Court because if a lower court upheld it, it would have to go to the Supreme Court. In fact, it would have to go to the Supreme Court anyways. It's an executive order, I think. I'm not sure what the first stage would be, but then, yeah, it would definitely go to the Supreme Court. So that's not going to happen either. Don't worry about that. Now, the only thing on the list that I don't object to is they said that he may want to set up a government agency that provides guidance on safe storage of firearms. Now, a lot of people are like, yes, the government sticking their nose in firearms ownership and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, if it's just guidance, I don't care about that. I don't believe in laws that say, if you don't lock your gun up and someone, breaks into your house and steals it, you're responsible. That's bullshit. That's a criminal doing something. Now, I do believe in laws that say, hey, if you leave your loaded gun laying on the counter every day and your 3-year-old gets it and shoots your neighbor or shoots themselves, yeah, you should go to prison for negligence because you knew the risk and you took it with a 3-year-old around. Laws like that don't bother me. That's accountability. We like freedom in the gun community, but freedom from accountability is not one of the freedoms I think people have. So if you do something definitely negligent and someone is harmed, that's on you. A criminal breaking into your car or your home, that's not on you. You have a right to believe that your property is safe and secure on your property. So a criminal violating that doesn't make you negligent. But as far as just guidance, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, because the government is supposed to do things like that. It's supposed to put out things like, hey, here's how you can save on your electric bill. And here's even a little program to help you get solar panels cheaper. I think that's what government should do. It should do things like that. It should make people's lives better. It shouldn't be trying to put people in prison all the time. It should be trying to make their lives better. And if the government can say, here's safe ways to secure your firearms, if you got children and blah, 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 here's a little guideline. Because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people are new gun owners. A lot of people have never bought a gun safe. Some people can't afford gun safes. So maybe if there was a program that said, hey, with every gun you buy for $5, you can send this coupon and $5 into this address and you'll get a gun safe for your gun, like a little handgun safe. I got no problems with stuff like that. That's the kind of thing government's supposed to do. There's no criminal penalty there, none of that, no requirement to do anything. It's just an aid. So as far as guidance on safe storage, I'm okay with that. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think like, my kid's 8. He's perfectly safe to have around a gun. I've taught him about guns. But they're ignorant of what 8-year-olds are actually like. 8-year-olds do not possess the same reasoning skills adults do. So something that you would reason through is like, well, since I've taught them not to touch them, they know that they're this, they know they're that, they've learned this. So obviously they're going to do the logical thing and not do something wrong. No, they don't. Their brains don't work that way, and you can't expect them to. Every parent out there, when they've asked a kid, why did you do that, has heard, I don't know. And that's true. They don't know. They knew not to, and they don't know why they did it. So don't take risks with your children. So guidance, I'd be okay with. That's the one thing they could do that I'd be like, fine with that, especially if they implemented a program saying, hey, if you can't afford a safe, we'll give you a safe. We'll get you one for next to nothing so your kids can be safe. That would actually maybe save some lives, because there are accidents with firearms every year where kids get a hold of the guns. It's not a large number. If they wanted to actually save lives, they could put more money into mental health, or maybe requiring people who have been convicted of drunk driving once to have breathalyzers on their cars would save more lives than that. Or if you, lots of other things you could do to save more lives. But still, it'd be a step in the right direction. And I know a lot of people would like to have a safe and sometimes can't afford it. I just gave away 2 safes that I don't use anymore because I built this. Because I know some people out there, you know, it comes down, should I buy a gun for self-defense or buy a safe? Can't afford both. So I'm okay with that part of it. But those are the things I want you to look at. I know it's just been a rambly video because I'm really not ready for videos yet. What else is new? I don't think I've been ready for videos yet, period, since I started YouTube. But hopefully I'll get good at it and get to where I know what I'm doing. Don't bet on it, though. I'll probably be dead before that happens. But those are what I want to talk about for the people that are freaking out about Biden's executive orders. For one, there ain't going to be a whole lot happening. The things that do happen, most likely is going to be background checks, which is something I've been warning people about for a long time, that it's going to become universal background checks are probably coming. It's something I don't know if we can even stop, but we're going to do our best to stop it. And if it gets put in place, we'll do our best to defeat it. Because it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's an infringement on your rights. Any free citizen that's not in prison should be able to buy a gun, as far as I'm concerned. That's part of our country. They talk about, oh, but we have violence. We are not a violent country, period. And we have a lot of guns. We're a free country, and we've stayed that way because we have a lot of guns. It's one of the main reasons. Free speech and Second Amendment are the 2 main reasons we're still a free country. We're still a democracy, a constitutional republic, which is a democracy, people. It's a form of democracy. So that's what you should look for tomorrow. And like I say, don't get all panicky. Don't think you got to run out and buy your AR today or blah, blah, blah. A lot of the industry shills want you to do that. But do what you normally would do. And if you've got some money that you're itching to have go towards the fight for the Second Amendment, well, don't be throwing it off into the piles of these big national organizations. Find your local state organization, encourage them to interact with states that are having issues right now, or actually just go straight to the state organization. That's a good thing now. I live in Oregon, but because of the internet, I'm members of organizations in Florida and DC and Virginia and California and New Jersey. So find where the fight is, go directly to the state organization that's fighting the fight. Stop filling these coffers of these big national companies. But like I said, that's what to watch out for tomorrow. Don't panic, but be aware that some things could be coming. And we'll see the extent of them tomorrow. I think most of this is going to be smoke and mirrors and blowing steam out his ass because he's just trying to make the far left think that he's actually doing something about guns because they've been mad that he's actually dealing with government stuff like infrastructure instead of trying to take freedoms away. So he's got to appease them somehow. But like I said, pay attention, be aware, and if the fight comes to us, be ready to fight it.